Welcome back to my Cosmic Diary. Today is a very special chapter because for today it is not just my Cosmic Diary, it is our Cosmic Diary. For the first time, I invited someone to speak with me on this podcast, my soul sister, lifetime sister, and galactic sister. She has been my mirror, my anchor, my other half throughout this lifetime. My younger sister, Anik. We grew up as two halves of the same story, healing together, awakening together, and activating each other side by side. And us incarnating together has been a gift for my soul to make sure I would remember my light even in very dark moments. So today we are sharing about this bond through the theme of sisterhood, soul contracts, childhood intuition, and animal communication. Let's begin. Very welcome here today.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm super excited.
Me too. I'm so happy that you are willing to share your story with us today. We were already talking on voice messages about our experiences, about life. Basically, we were using each other as diaries for however long WhatsApp is existing. I have no idea, but it has been a journey of voice messages, and we always were joking with each other. Well, you have another podcast. Here it comes. For me, it feels just natural to have an actual podcast and to share a little bit of the inside of our journeys with others. Nowadays, you always hear the term sisterhood. You always hear people speaking about how important sisterhood is. And of course, you have different layers to sisterhood because you have like our connection, which is DNA sisterhood, is like the earth plane sisterhood, but you have also the earth plane sisterhood of women's circles and connection to other women, which of course is also very important. And then you have soul connections, which you could maybe say as galactic sisterhood. And I guess that there are way more things to look into to sisterhood. But if you hear this word and if you think about our bond, what does sisterhood mean to you?
Yeah, so I've been thinking about this because to me, sisterhood, I have one sister, like literal a sister, that's you. So I always have that feeling like, oh, that's my sister. But I also know very many women that do not have a sister in the physical, but they find it through friendships or through spiritual meaning. So I think it can be very big. But to me, it is always you, but it's also because I think that we incarnated very many times together. We chose to be sisters in this life, but we're also best friends. So it's much more than just, oh, you're my sister, we come from the same parents, but we have a connection that's way beyond that. And I think that you can have that with anyone you choose to incarnate with. So it can be friends, it can be teachers, it can be galactic, anything, just someone that you have a very close bond with that gets you and that allows you to be yourself. I think that is, for me, what sisterhood means. That's what I think about.
I love that when you say that you can be yourself. So creating a space where it is safe and where it's okay to be your full self. From my experience, that is exactly what you created for me. Like you have been my cheerleader in life. You have been my safe space, the one that I cry with, laugh with. It's kind of like you are the full package to me, like the other side of the coin. That I think you said that once to me, like yeah, we are the same or the other side of the coin. And that has resonated always so much with me. And I love how you describe that. And if you look back at our childhood, for example, and how sisterhood showed up in our childhood, what from that is still showing up in our bond?
You're right. I don't know if you remember this, probably you do. When I was very young, I couldn't speak very well, and no one understood what I was saying, only you and my mother did. I feel like sometimes it's still that way, even though now I know how to speak, but you still get me when other people maybe do not. And I think that is still something that comes back, even if I don't use the right words or anything. You always understand what I mean, even if I don't say it. And that was very young age. Even though I couldn't pronounce the words, no one knew what I was babbling on about. You always got it.
Yeah, that reflects back to me as well when I send voice messages to you and I cannot find the words. I don't know exactly what I'm getting at, but maybe you get it anyway, and usually you do. So the unseen, the unsaid but it's still there. And when you mentioned this story, it was actually because you couldn't hear very well, right? Perhaps you were 2 or 3 years old and you were just starting to express yourself, starting to communicate, and they found out a little bit later that you couldn't hear very well because there was a bit of water, if I remember correctly. We would be sitting in the car with our grandpa. Our grandma would always sit in the middle because we would fight about her, like who was allowed to sit with her. So we were sitting both on the side. And she would ask me, but what is your sister saying? What does she want? And at times I would then say, I don't know either. I always felt bad for that. Like, why would I not just communicate for you? But I think that as children, we go both ways with it. So, yes, I was there for you to help you communicate and I was getting you. But of course, there was also the side of sometimes doing something else or saying, like, maybe she wants a candy when that's not at all what you said. But I do remember that this was showing up. That's true.
Well, you were just a child yourself too. You were still learning.
So, sisterhood, childhood, and in adulthood, there are many things that we always bring along. And I always had the feeling of, because of you and me being so extremely close, it truly feels like as if you are part of my soul, or you are probably part of my soul tribe. I'm sure of that. So there was a question inside of me that was wondering, are we closer to our siblings than we are to our parents? And when I researched a little bit about this, that's not necessarily true, because from a DNA point of view, we share 50% more or less, and we share about 50% with our parents. However, being the exact same mix of DNA, like we have the same kind of cocktail running through our veins, that does give a very mirror effect. That, like, you have someone on this planet that has the same kind of cocktail, but it might show up a little bit different, giving you the opportunity of learning from that other person and kind of taking those little things and seeing what you might be missing, or giving you another perspective, really that mirror effect. Is that something that resonates with you, or how do you see that?
It definitely resonates. But even just beyond the literal DNA, you have, if you are growing up together like we did, you have similar experiences. And I think that also shapes you and that helps you understand the other. So, you have the same mother, you have the same father, you go through maybe similar struggles or happy moments, you share so many memories that beyond just physical DNA that makes you similar, the way life shapes you is similar. You can express it in different ways, but you have someone that knows that was there. I think that is also very important. That helps you.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's also about how you grow up. We grew up mostly with our mother. We were mostly with the three of us growing up. And that's another female, it's not necessarily sisterhood, but it does create that safe space, what we spoke of earlier. And that could be, of course, as well when you grow up with four or with more, or with a dad there. But I can only speak from my experience. And we grew up how I usually see it as Trinity. I have like this little triangle on my finger for it. And for me, that was really the safe space. So, yes, I truly agree. It is also about how you grow up and having that shared experience. In a way, I would almost say that sisterhood is just a word, but what it means and what it resembles also includes a mother in that safe space.
I think it can refer to a tribe, and us growing up with our mother, often we were called the Three Musketeers. I don't know if you remember that, but to me, it really felt like this is my tribe. These are the people that I can rely on for anything, that always have my back. And I think that also resembles sisterhood. And that was with you, but definitely also our mother.
How I always see it is that that's still our safety net. No matter what happens in life, like right now, I'm not physically living with close to you and not close to our mother. Yeah, we are like kilometers apart, but there's still that sense of safety net. Even when you're not physically close with each other, that bond, that energetic safety net is always there. And so that's like the lineage, but I'm sure that many people will also feel these type of connections, even though there is no DNA involved, even though there is perhaps no history involved in this life. So going more to the soul or soul connections part of it. How do you see that? What is your idea about that?
Well, like I said, I really believe in reincarnation. And I think that you can choose who you reincarnate with and also what your bond is. So we chose to be sisters, but you might have also been my best friend or someone that is a teacher only in my life for a little part. So then, galactic wise, you would still have that connection and that bond. So you can feel that when you're together in this lifetime, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that you're of the same DNA in this lifetime. That's what I believe.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Even though, like you said, you are my only sister in this lifetime, and there is no other bond that I could describe as the bond that I have with you, I could also feel connected on a soul level to other females. I know that I know them from other lifetimes, and I see that mirror effect in them too. In the end, I do think that all the soul contracts that we have, all the people that come into our lives, like you said, for a short amount of time as a teacher or having a trigger that you could evolve with, all comes in the mirror. It's always that you and the other. And it's interesting that we're talking about this in the mirror effect in Libra season, because that's exactly, we came into Libra, I think 2 days ago. That's exactly what Libra is about, right? It is the connection to the other. And I didn't realize that until we were speaking about it just now. So that feels super aligned. And if you think about our astrology chart, we could also link it very well together. Because, so if we look at your big three, you have a Pisces sun, you have a Scorpio moon, you have a Leo rising. So you are double water with a fiery ascendant. And when you look at my big three, I have my sun and rising in the sign of Cancer with a Pisces moon. So just on the first look, you could say, okay, there's a water connection, right? Like very clearly. And then my moon is your sun, which is also your Mercury. You have a lot of Piscean influence in your chart. So just based on those three simple things, you could already see, okay, so there's a water connection. The emotions are definitely there in the bond, and we feel very attuned to each other's emotional bodies. You understand my inner world like no other. You understand my moon, you understand my feelings, and you can hold them very well. I get how you want to express yourself. I get how you need to charge your vital force energy. There is already a very clear bond. But looking a little bit deeper, if you really look at the karmic connections and the soul connections, what truly amazed me is that you have your Leo rising. And how that shows up in my chart is that my default, my automatic position, my past lives is in Leo. And then the other way around, if you look at my Cancer rising, that is your default. It is your automatic system. It is your past life. So you help me to rise into my Cancer archetype, and I help you to rise into your Leo archetype. And at the same time, you hold space for me having that Cancer position and having that Leo South Node, like you get it, and vice versa, the same. We are activators of each other's soul path, of really helping each other to evolve and to move forward. What are your thoughts about it?
I knew this, you told me before, but not to this extent. But I'm not surprised at all, to be honest, because we have been each other's biggest cheerleaders, but also support systems. And I think it shows again what I said about the sisterhood, the space where you are understood and you can be yourself. Then because you get where I'm trying to go and I get where you're trying to go. You can lean on each other and ask for advice, or even if something is bothering you and you're struggling with something, someone that gets it the way you process things, I think is beautiful.
Yeah, and what a gift, right? Like that
Yeah.
because sometimes so the way we grew up from the outside, sometimes I do feel a little bit like, oh, like, so you grew up mostly with three of you, and like things happened in our childhood, and that's all true and it's all valid. That being inside the little bubble of Trinity, the three musketeers that we were in, and having that sisterhood, there was so much understanding and so much empathy, which was actually a gift. And it was really, it still is like we incarnated truly with having the best intention for the other. And I think that's always the case, but we had the opportunity to really see it and to feel it and to live it. And for me, when I look back at our childhood and our bond then and our bond now, it is like, wow, this is one of the biggest gifts that I have in my life. It is so beautiful.
Yeah, I completely agree. And sometimes I hear my friends that are missing such a bond. And then I again realize this is not for everyone. Not everyone experiences this, even though I've had it my entire life. It's so beautiful.
Moving a little bit back to your big three, looking at your sun, you have a very mystical, watery sun in Pisces. And then your inner world, the moon in Scorpio. And at the deepest point of your chart, it's very private, it's very intuitive, it is very watery and deep and transformational and gives that psychic flavor to it. You also know this, but I really love this Scorpio, the Scorpio flavor. I love all the 12 signs. So you have your Pisces in the seventh house. So you're really here for you and the other. There's always that connection flavor to it. And then the moon at the deepest part of your chart and your Leo rising, the natural leader. You are seen even if you don't want to be seen. You have that courage. You can really speak up. And to me, I feel your Leo as being my true cheerleader always. It is very clear to me. But if you hear those big three, what really comes up for you? What do you identify with or not at all? Or how do you see these archetypes in real life?
Actually, I see them all three, but it really depends on the situation that I'm in. So when I am, for example, with you or a mother or someone that I'm completely comfortable with, I think you see the Pisces very, very clearly. Very dreamy, very emotional, but in good and bad ways. You know, you see me happy or sad. I'm sharing. I'm sometimes not even really in this world. I don't know. I'm all over the place. But I don't necessarily think you maybe see the Scorpio in me because I'm very open with you. But I know that I can hide very well the things that I feel or think from people that are a little bit further than my inner circle. And then the Leo, I never knew it was my ascendant until you started doing astrology and you explained things to me. And then it just clicked. Like when, for example, I'm in a professional setting, when I'm at work, I notice that people just look at me to have the solution sometimes. And I'm like, I don't know. I have insecurities. I don't know what to do, but people don't see it. And then you were like, no, but they see the Leo in you. And then I started to recognize, like, okay, so this is what I'm portraying to people that don't get to see my inner world. And then, of course, with my Scorpio, I don't allow them to see anything else apart from this proud, very stable person that has it all together, when maybe my Pisces is like, oh, I don't know what to do. I'm a little bit scared. So
Yeah.
yeah, it really depends on where I'm at, who I'm with, but they are all three a big part of my life.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
love how you describe it because I can so much imagine that like the way you think your Mercury and like your, you could say it's kind of your ego. It's also the way you express yourself. It's your mental body is also in Pisces. So I can completely get that on the inside with that Scorpio moon, and they are almost trining each other. So they are very close, linked together. You're on the inside, you might have these insecurities or like, really, why are you guys looking at me, like I don't know what to do. So that can make complete sense to me. And at the same time, that Scorpio that really lives inside of you. So you have Pluto conjunct your moon in the fourth house of Scorpio. So there in, like, your chart is basically screaming on steroids psychic. intuitive, mystic, and really diving deep, and you understanding the psychological parts of others and really diving deep into it and having that mystical side of Pisces, like being with one foot in this reality, one foot in another. Like, I know your dream worlds are like, wow, they are out there. And you are able to connect with things that perhaps others don't see. How would you describe that showing up for you?
It's funny because just this morning I was talking to her mom and we were talking about sleeping patterns of children. And she mentioned again, because for a long time I was scared at night and I would want to either sleep with you or with her. And she said, yeah, you always said that you saw things. And I thought I was crazy as a child because I didn't understand it, but I still have the memories of me seeing things that other people didn't see. And now I get it like, oh, that's just who I am. When I saw my toys moving, I thought so. But actually, I think I was seeing beings. I was hearing things. And because I didn't understand it, it scared me. And now when it happens, because it still happens, I get excited like, oh, who's trying to connect with me? What's going on? I want to know more. So
Yeah,
that part is very, very active, but I don't show it to everyone. But yeah,
that's the Scorpio.
it yes, of course. But no, I feel it even when I'm awake, but also in meditation. Like you mentioned, my dream world is all over the place. And sometimes I feel like I'm not actually sleeping at all. I wake up exhausted, just traveling to worlds and connecting with all these different energies. And then I wake up and I feel like, oh, I've been on a road trip all night long. And now I have
Yeah.
to be in this 3D world again and I'm exhausted.
So it's really balancing your Pisces in the seventh house is like the connection of that balance of how are you going to balance this 3D with, you can call it the 5D or other realms, but the unseen from an astrological point of view, that is really a big theme in this life for you, like that scale of being here and being there. And if you compare these stories from childhood to how you are now dealing with it, you have this sense of excitement. So there's definitely no fear. Well, I can imagine that there could be fear at times, but I would say what you're describing, that it's more of excitement and happiness. How would you describe how it's showing up in your daily life, that you can actually use it, or that it is helping you in your 3D life?
I think the biggest thing is that it allows me to pick up on energies. So people don't really have to say what's going on, or not even just people. It can also be animals, it can be nature. I can feel into it. And sometimes that allows me for just to give understanding and compassion to someone, even though maybe they don't want to talk. But also, it
Mm-hmm.
happens a lot that people just talk. You know, I just sit there and listen, and people
Mm-hmm.
talk. And you see it in my work as well. I've always been working in healthcare. Now I work in mental health care, and just people just spill everything. And I just have to sit there. That's it. And then I feel like, oh, now that from when you came in, for example, when it's a client, your energy was very heavy. I could feel that you are stressed out or worried. Now that you're going, just from letting it all out, you feel lighter. So I think that is the main thing for me, just being able to tap into whoever is in front of me and
Mm-hmm.
just holding space for them.
So you are using basically your psychic gifts, your gift of really tapping into the psychology of the other and picking up on the unseen, which is maybe not said verbally, but is there, the energetics, and basically holding space and being a therapist. Or yeah, you could
Yeah.
describe it as therapist. Like there's definitely the therapy and therapy healing aspect of your chart, and you are using it in a 3D setting. And for me, that it doesn't get more spiritual than that, of being able to translate it that way, and the person, the client, leaving with a lighter energy. I think that's beautiful. Like that is truly how you translate it and how you transmute it from being a child of like, oh my god, I am scared and I don't know what's going on, to I know how to work with these energies. I am, yeah, accepting and using my gifts to have my 3D life. What you mentioned also about could be nature, could be animals, could be humans. Like if you look at those three, how has that shown up for you?
Mostly with animals. I've always loved animals. We've always been surrounded by animals too. And what was funny is I always had a connection with our pets, but I was thinking, yeah, it's just because we know them, they're our pets, and we live with them, so you know their characters. And then at some point, I was in Rome and I started feeling this energy, and I was having a lovely time. It was a beautiful day. It was very hot though, very busy. I was just having dinner, just enjoying myself, and all of a sudden my stomach just flipped. And I was like, oh, this is not me. What's happening? And I started looking around, and all the people around me were happy. They were enjoying their meal, enjoying their wine, whatever, what you do in Rome. And then I saw this horse. And immediately, as soon as I looked at him, I knew it was him that I was feeling. And he was being used as a tourist attraction on this very, very hot day in the middle of the sun, having to pull a carriage for tourists to ride. And I was like, what I'm feeling is you, this frustration, this sadness, this anger. It was this animal that I had never seen before. I had never connected with before. Then I really realized this is not a thing that I had with humans. This is just any living being that you can pick up on. And
Mm-hmm.
also because, it's a process, you have to learn it. I'm still learning it, and it just kind of happens to me, especially then. But I notice it happens to me when I am calm and relaxed. And I was
Mm-hmm.
having such a great vacation, and it allowed for me to pick up on other people. Whereas when I'm not okay myself and I'm super tired or sick, then it doesn't work like that. It's just, if I'm good, then it just happens.
Mm-hmm. So what I hear you say is also your stomach flipped.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like a signal of your body. So it was coming through your body into your awareness. And you're also describing when I'm sick or I'm really stressed or like I'm really tired. So would you say that there is a connection with your body?
I think it's both, but I think when I am not feeling my best, whether it's mentally or emotionally or
Mm-hmm.
physically, I mean, my focus is on healing that, and then I kind of close off. Whereas if I'm completely happy with where I'm at, everything is open. And then I can carry it. So I allow it in. So I think somewhere in there, there's like a self defense mechanism like, no, I need to focus on myself now. Nothing is
Mm-hmm.
coming in compared to, oh, now I got myself handled. Now I can take care of something else.
So your own frequency and your own state of being has to be in kind of a 0 point in order for your field to have space to let these forms of communication
Yeah.
get in. And when you are in contact, let's say, or communication with animals, what kind of communications do you pick up on? And what kind of animals? Have you noticed these things happening more often?
Yeah, for sure. With my own dog, of course. But then again, there's a connection there. It shows up in feelings. I just feel things that I recognize are not my own. And then I
Mhm.
go look for, okay, who am I feeling? With my own dog, I feel his emotions a lot, but we are bonded. But also when I am just walking outside, and sometimes all of a sudden I just get a whiff of something, like an energy rushing through me, and then I see two birds in the sky just playing or something, and then I can feel that too. Or even if there's a worm on the ground, sometimes I pick up on that, like trying to get to the grass before it's basically in danger, and just things like that. But it's always a feeling in my body, but like an emotion. It's
That's
very
beautiful.
difficult to put into words.
So it doesn't have to be only like with the horse that was feeling horrible. It doesn't have to be only an emotion of sadness or pain. It could also be happiness. It's different versions of emotions.
Yes, I think all the emotions on the spectrum can be translated and can be picked up on, because it's the vibration that they give up that you're able to tap into, and that can go both ways, good or bad.
Having this ability, what did it do for you as a human and for your own 3D world?
I think it has made me way more compassionate because sometimes humans still see animals as just an animal, and I cannot see them like that. I see them like sentient beings that deserve compassion and care and love just like humans do.
Mhm.
And this is a thing that is a big topic for me. For example, all the animals that need rescuing or that are being neglected, that it can make me very angry. But at the same time, I want to give love to all of them. So I think it has made me a more compassionate person, also more patient with my dog having to learn things. He's a bit of a troublemaker and he's definitely not trained that well. But, I get it. I get where it's coming from. So I don't get frustrated with it.
Yeah, so you also in that way, again, like you're letting him be him, right? You're letting him be his authentic self, and you carry compassion for him being perfectly imperfect.
Yeah, I think that is the best gift that you can give anyone. Human, animal, nature, doesn't matter, but letting someone be who they are is beautiful. And when you can feel the energy, it's much easier to do so.
Also love the nature part of it.
Sometimes I can feel the energy of trees. People tend to think I'm crazy a little bit, but the trees are such old souls. A friend of mine bought a new house, and there was a big old tree in the backyard, and she had it cut down, and it hurt me so bad, thinking like, but this is a soul that you're moving. He has been here for so many years. Like, this is not just a tree, it's a living being. And I have that many times, but again, also in a positive way. When I'm just walking outside, I walk a lot with my dog, of course, and I can just see the energies between the bushes and the trees and the flowers or even the grass. And it's just very calming, very beautiful, and also very neutral. And then I realized, like, this is the perfect state of mind, just being, you know?
And would you say that all is connected? The animals, the nature,
Definitely.
the humans, like the
Yeah, no doubt about it. Because we all carry energy and a frequency, and it just expresses itself in a different way. I think the soul chooses which way to express itself in for a certain lifetime, but it all comes from the same place. So therefore, it's all part of the same bigger thing, you know?
I couldn't agree more with both the nature part of it and the animal part of it. And definitely your experiences with animal communication have expanded my awareness. For example, a few years back, I was in Egypt and you had already shared some of your experiences with me. And they do camel riding in Egypt. And I just couldn't. Like many tourists would want to take a photo on the back of a camel and walk around. Like the camels to me, it was not necessarily that I could feel them, but I could still observe them. And for me, it doesn't feel like this is the natural state of being of that camel. Doesn't feel like the camel wants to do this. So it didn't feel good for me to ride it, and I didn't. And there have been more examples since then. So I hope also with you sharing your story that just as with me, it expands the consciousness. And when we already might feel sometimes those things, but that we also act upon it, right? Like
Yeah.
that we don't go against that feeling of, I think it's very important that you share this story of how it is all connected and how you can pick up on it. And also of how we can let our dear pets and any animal in the world be their authentic selves. That horse and all those animals, they carry their own mission as well and their own consciousness and soul path. I think is very important. And when I look at your chart, I see these traits of, for example, animal communication. So you have a huge stellium in Aquarius in your sixth house. The sixth house is connected to our daily routines, our daily lives, work, all of that. But what it is also connected is to small animals and pets. That is something that is mentioned sometimes, but not truly deep dived in. But you have it in Aquarius. Aquarius is known for doing things different, is known for being a bit of a rebel, like what you said of how you see things and how you would like the world to be is definitely futuristic, is like helping the collective moving towards a different point of view, a different way of doing things. So I definitely see that in your chart. And yeah, so you have a stellium there. And the sixth house is ruled by Virgo. And if we then look at what is happening with Virgo in your chart, is that Jupiter is there. So that's what you absolutely love. That's where you extend. That's where you grow and evolve. And that's very close to your identity as it is in your first house. So for you, it is really part of your soul journey. And it's showing up very strongly in your chart. And I love how it is also very strongly showing up in your life and how you are acting upon it.
Well, I wish I was acting up on it more. It's still my future dream to actually work with animals, combined with working with children and teenagers, but also just, it's something everyone can do if you allow yourself to do it. If you allow yourself to pick up on the animals, or even just like you did with the camels, listen to your own intuition, that is already a step into communicating with maybe a being that you think you cannot communicate with, because we can communicate with everything and everyone can do it if you let yourself, if we are normalizing it, so to say.
I showed some examples in your chart, but at the end of the day, we all have all 12 archetypes. How our chart is built is just a guide or a blueprint of where our soul wants to focus on and how it is expressing in this lifetime. Doesn't mean that we cannot do the other things. But I couldn't agree more with you that yes, everyone can do it. And it is like an opportunity for everyone through different ways.
It can be so many things.
I love this conversation. It has been such a gift to have this conversation with you today and you sharing your stories. And I find it so very important. So I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity of sharing this with more souls.
I love for people to maybe hear it and think like, oh, maybe I can do this too. I can try it too. Or even if people do it, what I had a lot of my past experience thinking, they're going to think I'm crazy. For people to realize you're not crazy, you're doing stuff that everyone can do. Just allow yourself to do it.
That's beautiful.